And now, it's time for your Low Country Real Estate Market Update. It's the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show. Brian is one of the top 1% real estate agents in Charleston. Find him online at listingsincharleston.com. That's listingsincharleston.com. Or call him at 843-800-0065. That's 843-800-0065. Now, broadcasting from the WTMA studios, here's your host, Brian Beatty.
Good morning, Charleston, and welcome to another edition of the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show right here on the Big Talker, 1250 WTMA and WTMA.com. I'm, of course, your host, Brian Beatty. Thanks for joining me this morning. A lot to discuss today. You know, the markets, I'm going to try and explain the state of the market, and I want to really help people in this particular episode understand how they can save money throughout the process of selling a home. So many folks tend to think that the only way to save money is to either negotiate the commission or negotiate the sales price, when in reality, there are dozens of different stops along the way for you to save money as a seller. So I want to highlight some of these things. I want to talk about the market, talk about that process. And, you know, I encourage you guys, I've been thinking about this because, as you guys might know, I've been writing a guide on everything you need to know about selling a home in Charleston. It's the only guide like it. It's already crested, I think, 50 pages. So it's really more of a book than it is a guide. But I'm pouring into it really everything that I know about the process, from preparing your home to interviewing agents to whether or not you make repairs, listing the property for sale in the open market, what we can do before then to generate traffic, how to negotiate, how to save money in the process, so on and so forth. So, you know what I'd love for you guys, those that are kind of the loyal listeners of the program, and I know there are a lot of you out there, and I appreciate that. I'd love to hear from you what you'd like to see in this guide. Are there any questions that you feel are skimmed over when talking to real estate agents? What is it that in the last real estate transactions you did, what do you wish you asked your agent? What is it that you learned from that process that you wish you knew beforehand? Those are some great insights. I'd love your opinion on that. And of course, if you're thinking of buying a home or selling a home or investing in real estate, or you have a property you'd like for us to manage for you, then I invite you to give me a call. We'd love the opportunity to earn your business. We've been selling real estate here for almost 20 years, about 1,500 transactions in that period of time, about $1 billion worth of real estate I've represented here locally. So would love to speak with you about your goals, see if it's a good fit. My number, of course, is 843-800-0065. That's 843-800-0065. You can check us out online at listingsincharleston.com. That's listingsincharleston.com. Check us out on YouTube as well. We've got like 1,000 plus videos on YouTube on all different kinds of things. We record this show as I'm airing it, and we put it into video. We put it on YouTube. So if you want to put a face to the voice, just search the Brian Beatty team. But anyways, let's get into it. Let's talk about the real estate market. And someone asked me recently how to describe the real estate market. And I said that we're really in a bit of an anomaly, of a market here. It really doesn't make much sense. In the grand scheme of things, inventory, homes for sale, is still low. It's still a seller-driven market. But we have seen a nice little increase in the number of new properties hitting the market. We're up almost 20% year to date. So far, as of the end of April, we've put a little over 8,200 homes on the market in the Charleston Tri-County area versus this time last year, which was about 6,900. So we have seen a little bit of an increase in inventory. Pending sales is somewhat lagging in comparison to the inventory that's being put on the market. So we're seeing a little bit more of a balance, a little bit of a trajectory toward a normal market, but still not enough for, I think, buyers to be able to leverage that for their benefit. It's still very much so a seller-driven market, but what's interesting, and this is part of the explanation that I was giving to somebody, is that unless the seller really is following, I think, the steps necessary to sell their home for top dollar, there is now more of a likelihood than there has been in the past several years, quite frankly, for that property to sit on the market longer. You know, I think that a lot of sellers still have the expectation that if their home doesn't sell within the first week, something's wrong. If you look at the average days on market, by this time last year, the average was 41. Right now we're at 39. So, I mean, technically properties are selling a little faster, which is a bit surprising, right? We've got more inventory. Affordability continues to go down, and prices continue to go up. So it just seems like no matter what happens in this market right now, properties are still selling for the prices that they're being listed for in most instances. The average percentage off of the asking price right now is 3.3%. Last year, it was 3.8%. So as a market, there are sellers out there that are still of the opinion that it doesn't really matter what they do to prep their home for sale. They can still ask a higher than fair market value price, and they're going to get it. And sometimes that happens. What's happening now, though, is as the spring market heats up and as these buyers are in, transaction mode, right? They're in a transactional mindset. If something hits the market, they like it, they're prepared, they're ready to make an offer. And as such, they're pretty well educated on what's available in our market, right? They can spot from a mile away the homes that will sell versus the homes that will sit. And I think a lot of the challenges that sellers are facing right now, especially those that are getting the advice of agents that are like, hey, let's really push the envelope on pricing, or maybe that's not even the strategy. Maybe the agent's just telling them what they want to hear so that they can get the listing, right? That's still a strategy that we have to deal with as agents on almost every listing appointment we go on. Anytime a seller wants to sell their home and they're interviewing agents, it's natural for agents to try and leapfrog one another with regard to the price they tell the seller they can list and sell their home for as a way of trying to earn the business. And if that seller and that agent aren't doing everything possible to promote that property before and while it's on the market and take the steps necessary to prepare the home for sale, then they're not going to get as much money as they possibly could. So I'm going to talk a little bit later on in this program about that setup, about the process of preparing your home for sale, what to do, what to avoid. We're going to talk a little bit about, once it's on the market, how do you respond to the activity that you're getting or not getting in the market? How do you make adjustments? I want to cover some common misconceptions too, because there are still a lot of sellers that, let's be honest, they haven't sold a home in quite a while, several years, certainly pre-COVID, and they're just a little out of date with trends within the marketplace. Now, obviously, that's the purpose of this show, is to help educate and prepare you for your next transaction. And as somebody that's done almost 1,500 of them locally, I share my experiences to help you become an informed consumer. That's what we do here. So, in the grand scheme of things, again, new listings are up 19%, pending sales are up 5%, closings are up 4%, days on market is down 5%. The median sales price in the Charleston Tri-County area right now is $416,020, which is up 4%. If you're looking at it from an average, which I don't like using averages when it comes to pricing because there are such a wide variety of properties in the Charleston area that it creates outliers, right? So I prefer not to use the average, but if you're an averages person, the average sales price is $624,060, which is up 11% from this time last year. The big story continues to be affordability, right? Economic growth isn't where it needs to be. Real income, when you account for inflation, isn't where it needs to be. Yet the cost of real estate compared to pre-COVID has doubled. So as these trends continue, as prices continue to go up, and as we continue not to see relief in the form of interest rates and monthly payments, affording real estate becomes less and less out of reach, or more and more out of reach for more people, which is why the first-time homebuyer market has been really hit hard by this. A lot of people are just sidelined right now. Now, a lot of people might be listening and thinking to themselves, I'm going to get back into the market when interest rates go down. We hear it all the time, right? We talk to a lot of people throughout the week on our real estate team. We have, we make thousands of phone calls, talk to hundreds of people every week. one of the recurring themes, of course, is that, hey, I'm just going to wait for interest rates to come down. Now, it might mean that they can afford to buy a house right now. They just are choosing not to because of the cost of ownership. Well, for the folks that are listening that are kind of in that same camp, there is a large pool of people that have been sidelined by increased cost of ownership, which accounts for pricing and payments due to interest rates in relation to their income. And as soon as those interest rates come down, you're going to have a bit of a feeding frenzy on your hands. Now, as a seller, it's tough to say with absolute certainty, of course, what's going to happen in this market. But that's my anticipation, is that when these interest rates go down, we're going to see prices go up even more. Unless inventory, right, the number of homes for sale, starts to increase at, quite frankly, a dramatic pace, right? We've got a little over right under 3,400 homes available for sale in the Tri-County area. And that number is up 31% compared to this time last year. This time last year, we were at about 2,600. But still, before COVID, we were at 6,500. And we were still in a seller's market. So we've got a long way to go. And the reality is, for the folks that have fantastic interest rates, they are not motivated to sell their home and jump into a payment that will be almost twice what they'd be paying now for the same type of home, unless they have to sell. And those kinds of transactions will always occur. Like I say on this show, there's plenty of reasons to sell a home. Some of them are not always happy reasons to sell a home. So there's always going to be real estate transactions. But seasonally adjusted nationwide, we're a little over 4.1 million sales in terms of trajectory for 2024, which is low. I mean, it's 2 million sales low. So the market is a very interesting market. I think if you're a seller in this market, preparation is key. Hiring the right agent that's going to give you the right advice with the right marketing plan and pricing strategy and negotiation skills is key. And as a buyer, there are opportunities out there. The main section of opportunities comes from the folks that tried to overprice their home. It didn't work. That property's sitting on the market. They're becoming anxious. They're wondering why their home hasn't sold when all their friends' homes sold in a week or less with 15 offers, right? We've all heard the stories. And they're a little more open to negotiations. If you're a seller, you have to try and not put yourself into that position. There are some ways around it, and we're going to talk about some misconceptions with regard to selling your home and the perception that buyers have about your home when it starts to sit on the market for longer than maybe you anticipated or the buyer anticipated a well-priced home in good condition should sell for, or the amount of time it should sell within. But we're going to talk about that when I return. Again, if you want to reach out to me, you want to learn more about your home's equity, we're doing a lot of home equity kind of checkups right now. So a lot of folks are just curious about where they stand, how much equity do they have, and in the coming months, if they do intend on selling their home, does it make sense to put a game plan in place now? I love it when people contact me before they start doing stuff to their home, before they start spending money that they may or may not need to spend in order to increase the sales price of their home, right? Any dollar you spend on your home should have a return on investment. I know how to do that for you guys. So give me a call and we can discuss that. 843-800-0065 is my number. 843-800-0065. Call or text. Or just visit us online, listingsincharleston.com. That's listingsincharleston.com. So we just talked about the market. If you're just joining us, I gave you guys an update on what's happening as of the end of April with regard to some real stats for our local Tri-County market. But what I want to talk about now is kind of in connection to this guide that I've been writing, which has been extremely therapeutic. You know, I love to write. It's just I'm good at it. I enjoy it. I think it's becoming a little bit of a lost art just because of the digital age that we live in. Everybody wants to text and everything's shorthand, and it seems like spelling and grammar has just gone out the window. No one cares about that anymore. But anyways, this guide that I'm writing, we're already at over 50 pages, and it's broken down into a few sections. And so for those of you that listen to this show, I try to provide as much value as possible to you guys, but this guide is going to be, I think, the one-stop shop document that you need to learn everything there is to know about selling a home in the Charleston market. I don't know of any other guide like this. It's really more of a book than it is a guide, but it's broken down into a few sections. The preparation phase, right, where you interview agents, you discuss repairs and renovations, hiring a contractor, staging and decluttering, and then pre-market activities. And that's what I'm going to focus on, but it just for the sake of you, those of you that are interested in this guide, maybe, the next section is listing it for sale, right? We're talking about pricing and positioning, dynamic marketing versus what most agents do, showings, feedback from those showings, adjustments to those folks that walk through the home and provide us with feedback. And then a lot of common misconceptions with regard to selling a home. The next section talks about negotiating, right? Strategies and tactics. Do you make the repairs? Do you offer credits? What about just selling it as is? What are the benefits, the pros and cons there? Want to talk about major milestones in the contract, right? There are a bunch of different items that can be negotiated in a real estate contract. We've come up with over 50. I want to talk about mistakes to avoid and then how to ultimately net more money in your sale. And then lastly, just some frequently asked questions about, things like incentives and guarantees, and do I hire a team or do I hire a solo agent? What about commission? How do you have an effective conversation with a real estate agent about commission to feel like you're getting value, which is really what that's all about, is value, right? And then finally, it talks about like AI and technology and just the way that real estate is changing. And it's incredible for somebody like me that's very tech savvy, that does a ton to market properties in an intelligent way by actually targeting specific buyers for your home. Like every person out there that exists and uses the internet has some sort of digital blueprint, right? Demographic information, geographic information, online behavioral data, right? About everything you do. That's why when you open up your email or you go to websites, you see suggestions from companies on things that are probably relevant to you. Well, we can use all of that data to our advantage to find buyers that are displaying online behavior right now that we believe may be interested in making a purchase, and more specifically interested in purchasing your home. And we can put our properties in front of those people. Now, I'm not going to tell you how we do that because there are agents that listen to this program. But if these are things that you're interested in learning more about, you can do this in two ways. You can either call or text me and we can have a conversation about it. 843-800-0065, 843-800-0065. Or if you want to get on the waiting list, I appreciate all of you that have already texted me that want a copy of this guide. Just text the word guide to 843-800-0065. Text the word guide to 843-800-0065 and be prepared. I'm going to ask you for your email address when I reply so that I can actually deliver this document to you. But let's talk a little bit first about this preparation phase when deciding to sell your home. And we've all heard the famous quote from Benjamin Franklin, by failing to prepare, we are preparing to fail, right? So when it comes to the preparation phase, well, I think what a lot of people skip, or the first step, in my opinion, really is to interview an agent. You're probably thinking, this is an interesting place to start. I mean, doesn't that come later on in the process when, I've prepped my home for sale? Well, the short answer is no. I think too often sellers treat the potential agent they're going to hire almost as if they're like the first showing, right? They want that agent to quote them the highest price possible. And so as a result of that mentality, they wait for their home to be in near perfect condition before inviting that agent over. So the first thing I want to say is that I encourage you to invite agents into your home before you start spending time and money prepping it for sale. I think high caliber agents know what to do versus what not to do to sell your home for top dollar. They've got contacts to do the work at reasonable prices, and they can potentially save you thousands of dollars before negotiations even start. So when you're interviewing an agent, I've gone through this in previous episodes, and you can find this information on YouTube. Of course, it's in the guide, but these are the questions that I would ask an agent. And again, all of these questions are in the guide, so just text the word guide to 843-800-0065 and we'll send you a copy once it gets published. But I think the first question is this your full-time job, or do you have another job that you work as well. I mean, am I getting your full attention? How long have you been an agent, and how many homes have you sold in your career? What about the number of homes you've sold in the past 12 months? You know, what percentage of those closings that you had were actually sellers, right? You might find that agents are really successful, but it's because they work mostly with buyer agents. Well, selling a home and the marketing associated with selling a home is significantly different than finding a buyer a home to purchase, right? I think that it would also be important for you as a seller to ask if they're comfortable providing you with a list of homes that they've sold that can be easily fact-checked. You know, one of the problems in our industry is that it's not policed very well. You'd be surprised at the number of agents that are the number one agent. There's a lot of them. Well, there can only be one, right? And they'll say that they're in the top percent of this or that. The problem is it's just not verified. And so you just don't know if that agent's telling you the truth or not. You need to be able to fact check this information on your own, which is why you asked that question. I think you can also, if you're feeling bold, you can ask for a list of the last 3 seller-based transactions that agent has, and is that agent comfortable with your potential seller calling for references? I think that's a fantastic question to ask. And in the 1,500 properties that I've sold, I think I've only been asked that question a handful of times. I can probably count on one hand the number of times someone's actually asked for references. I think another question to ask is, what proactive marketing tactics do you use to find buyers specifically for my home? Right? And the purpose behind that question is most agents have kind of a set it and forget it mentality when it comes to marketing, right? They take nice photos, they put it in the MLS. Once it's in the MLS, it then syndicates to all these websites like Zillow and Realtor.com and Homes.com and Redfin and so on and so forth, thousands of them. And then they wait. Maybe they do like an open house, and most agents' open houses are just, we're going to put out some directional signs and we're going to kind of catch the people that are just driving around, right? I mean, ask yourself the question, when was the last time you were driving around on a Saturday or Sunday after running some errands and you're like, you know what? Let's go buy a house. That's not how it works. If you treat an open house as an example, I know we're getting a little off topic here, but if you treat an open house as if it is an event and that event needs to be marketed to the proper audience, right, at the appropriate time and with the right messaging, that's where you get and see real benefit from an open house. It's getting harder and harder to get people on the phone, by the way. And that's just because we're so inundated with spam and just junk, right? I get probably dozens of texts or calls on a daily basis between my personal phone number and then all the other phone numbers we have for the few businesses that I own. It's incredibly frustrating. And so buyers now understand that if they put their contact information into some sort of like online form, more often than not, they're going to be bombarded with calls and texts, and so they just don't do it. Now, obviously, for those that are in the mindset of having an intelligent conversation with somebody, there's a real need, right? They are thinking of very seriously selling their home or buying a home, then yeah, they want to have a conversation with somebody. That's not something you can really do by text very effectively. But my point is, open houses, as an example, are fantastic in that if you treat it like a real event and you market that event to the appropriate audience, those people are going to see that open house as a way to non-invasively explore their curiosity about your house, your neighborhood, or your area, right? You might not always find the buyer specifically for your home, although I've sold a lot of homes directly from open houses because we market them correctly. But that's just one of several different ways that an agent can proactively market your home to buyers that may be interested, right? I think another question to ask is, do you have any incentives or guarantees that might apply to me in my situation? We have several on our team, and we allow the client to choose what works best for them, whether it's a lower commission or it's more service. Different levels of service and things that we do from a marketing perspective cost more money. And therefore, we have a higher commission for some of those things. But we have the ability to go down as low as 1%. So, and we've got performance-based guarantees, communication-based guarantees, and we let you cancel your agreement at any time if you feel like we're not doing the job that we were hired to and set out to do, right? If we're not walking the walk, then you have the right to fire us. I think it's also important to ask what their average days on market is. What's their list to sale price ratio? How good are they at pricing? How good are they at marketing? Do they have a team or are they a solo agent? Who's going to work with you after you sign your agreement? There are a lot of agents out there that are just professional listing takers. And then you get pawned off on their team. And that's not always explained to you. And that's a big source of frustration for a lot of sellers in this market right now, because so many realtors have just joined up to create teams, but those businesses aren't run like businesses. I know this. I was an international real estate coach for years. I stopped doing it this year to just save myself some time for the other businesses I own. And it's just a common occurrence in today's world of real estate, is that you've got all these teams, which is nothing more than a collection of agents that just want to sell more real estate, but it's a dumpster fire in the background. They don't know what they're doing they don't have the business acumen, right? They're going from an operator to a business owner, and those skill sets are different, believe me. A lot of you listening know that. I think it's important if you ask whether or not you can cancel your agreement if you're dissatisfied. I think you need to better understand the process of showings. Are the buyers going to be pre-qualified? And if so, how? Are they going to be dealing with you directly? Or again, are you getting handed off to somebody else? I think when it comes to pricing, you have to have a sit-down conversation about that and really understand how that agent arrived at the price they're suggesting you list and sell your home for. This is the biggest area for errors to occur that can have a very serious impact on your ability to sell your home for top dollar. But again, like I said earlier, a lot of agents out there are still just telling sellers what they think they want to hear so that they get the listing. And quite frankly, the reason they do that is because they want their sign in the front yard. They want something to market. There's a saying in real estate that says that a sign in the yard is better than a sign in your trunk, right? They'd rather have something to market, because if they don't, then they have to go and they have to find their own leads. If your home doesn't sell, well, at least they're going to generate some leads off your listing. You just need to ask yourself the question, are you really interested in being leveraged by an agent to create more business for themselves rather than doing everything they can to help you sell your home for top dollar? I think you need to have conversations about commission. Is it negotiable? What about the buyer agent? We've got all these rules that are going to be changing in August with regard to that. And then lastly, because this is the biggest complaint among realtors by sellers, what does communication look like? Is there a guarantee? When am I going to hear from you? How often? What are we going to talk about? Discuss that part of this process and relationship with me. And, are you guaranteeing that? Is that in writing? Because so many sellers get frustrated by agents that, they sign a listing agreement, they hire an agent, and then that seller has to chase that agent down anytime they want an update. Or they're just not getting effective communication. It's done through text. It's done through email. And they're skimming the surface. They're not going deep. They're not truly explaining what has happened, what's about to happen, the impact on decision-making, so on and so forth. So this is just one little section. I mean, frankly, that's one page of 50 so far in this guide that I'm writing. So if you want your hands on this guide, get on the waiting list. The number to text is 843-800-0065. Text the word guide to 843-800-0065, and I'll make sure you get a copy as soon as this is published. Of course, you can call us as well, 843-800-0065, if you're thinking of selling your home, and we'll have a conversation around that. We'll help prepare you for the process ahead and show you all the different ways, the dozens of different ways that you can save money in this process, add money to your bottom line. Or, of course, you can just check us out online. Listingsincharleston.com. Listingsincharleston.com. Those of you that listen know that this is the portion of the show where I just express my gratitude. I thank you for those of you that listen to this program regularly and that reach out to me for maybe it's something as simple as, hey, I need a contractor reference, or I've got a question, just wanted to bounce it off you. That's what we're here for. We're here to be a resource, a guide for you. And of course, we appreciate those of you that trust in us enough to call us and allow us to earn your business. So thank you for all of you that have worked with our team in the past. We look forward to continued relationships with our listenership. If you'd like to reach out to me, you want to have a conversation about your real estate goals, you're thinking of buying a home, selling a home, investing in real estate, maybe selling real estate as a career, you've got a property you'd like for us to property manage for you, then I invite you to give us a call, 843-800-0065, 843-800-0065. That's my personal line, by the way, so that comes to me only. I don't think a lot of folks are surprised when I answer the phone. Don't be. It's me. It's my line. So happy to have conversations with you guys. Of course, listingsincharleston.com is the website to find out more information on myself and my team. Check us out on YouTube. We've got a ton of videos there, and we've also got the podcast on iTunes and Spotify and Google Play, all that good stuff. So we're talking about actions that sellers can take before their property actively goes on the market. We just talked about interviewing agents to really help set the stage for a profitable and productive sale. As I was mentioning, as I'm writing this guide on everything you need to know about selling a home in Charleston, which I don't think there's any other guide like it. We talk a lot about setting yourself up for success so that you can save money throughout the entirety of this process. There's over 50 ways that you can save money that we've highlighted in this guide. So if you want to get on the waiting list for that, it's almost done, and then it'll be published and shared with you. So if you want your hands on that guide, text the word guide to 843-800-0065, 843-800-0065, or contact us through our website, listingsincharleston.com. So we just talked about interviewing agents, how important that process is, getting the right person in your corner to help you throughout the entirety of this process. What I want to talk about now, though, is all the activities that can be done aside from, selecting your agent and making repairs to your home, so on and so forth, decluttering, right, all that. What I really want to talk about now are just some pre-marketing activities. And before we get into that, it's important, I think, to understand that the way that we as agents are now promoting properties before it actively goes on the market, right, before it's in the MLS and it's on Zillow and all these different websites, the process has changed. And it's changed. It's been changed for years now, right? There was a rule that came out in 2020 called the Clear Cooperation Policy, and it states that within one business day of marketing a property to the public, the listing broker must submit the listing to the MLS for cooperation with other MLS participants. Public marketing, by the way, includes but is not limited to flyers, yard signs, digital marketing, or public-facing websites, right? Email blast, all that stuff. So basically, here's what that means. When you hire a real estate agent, that agent has the ability to communicate with people in their database about your home without, triggering this clear cooperation policy. In other words, for the teams out there like me that have big databases, right? We've got 27,000 active people in one database and 400,000 people in another database. That's, by the way, that has cost millions of dollars to create over the past 20-year career that I've had. The agents with the big databases are the ones that win because before that home gets publicly listed for sale, we have the ability to introduce it to buyers in a very, I think, intelligent and attractive way, right? We basically get to say to these buyers, hey, we have a property that's about to hit the market. It's not publicly listed for sale. You won't find it on any website. It's not available to the general public, but because you and I have been in contact before, and I think this home fits within your search parameters, I wanted to let you know about it before anybody else knows. Now, as a buyer, or maybe you listening, recently purchased a home, and maybe you got a call like that from your agent. Most agents, quite frankly, especially buyer agents, they have a kind of like a set it and forget mentality, a lot like some listing agents, right? Where they say, tell me what you're looking for, bedrooms, bathrooms, square footage, location, price range, features, blah, blah, blah. I'm going to create a search for you, right? I'm going to set you up with an account in the MLS. And every time a new property hits the market, you're going to learn about it instantaneously. Well, that's all well and good, but what about all the properties that are getting ready to be sold that you're not being introduced to, right? It's a very welcome phone call from buyers is the point that I'm trying to make. But what's nice is that as a seller, you can also say something. The agent that you hire ultimately is the one that's going to say this, but the process really should sound something like, hey, I'm going to introduce this property to a bunch of buyers, and if they're interested, we might even schedule a showing, but we're going to let that buyer know that if they truly are interested, they're going to have to offer full price because they're asking you, the seller, to accept their offer before you've had an opportunity to promote it to the rest of the world, right? Because as of right now, you can only have the agent and their specific database or other agents in their brokerage in their database promote your property, right? Based on this rule. So it's obviously, it's important to understand how to play the game. It's important to hire somebody that has a large database that can bring you a buyer and save you some time and some frustration, right? You don't have to deal with all these showings. Maybe you find somebody that's ready, willing, and able right now that's going to pay you what you want, and you can run to the bank with it. I mean, we do this a lot. And I think that the agents out there with the mentality and the mindset of being a connector, right? Connecting buyers with sellers are the ones that are really going above and beyond in this market, because it's so easy to just throw up something on the MLS and let other agents showing. It's easy to just set up a search for a buyer and then have them tell you what they want to see, right? You want to find an agent that's going to be proactive, that's going to go above and beyond and has the tools and the resources, the manpower, the budget to promote your home in the best way possible, because all of this attributes to your bottom line, how much you are going to net at the end of the day. I've seen it time and time again. One area that we are especially focused on right now, and I'm happy to share that for those that listen to this program, we are offering a free pre-listing home inspection. Now, why is that important? First of all, let me say that a lot of sellers have felt like they don't need to take this step because they'll just take it as it comes, right? We know that the buyer is going to pay for a home inspection. We know they're probably going to ask for some things to be fixed. But here's the problem. If you wait for the buyer to do the home inspection and that buyer to then request repairs, they're either going to ask you to make the repairs or they're going to ask you for a credit. And the agents and buyers that are smart are the ones that are asking for credits based on quotes they get from contractors. Here's the problem. Those contractors, if they were contacted by the buyer and they know that the bill is going to be paid by the seller, they're not going to do you, the seller, any favors with regard to their pricing. They're going to get as much as they can, right? You need to have ammunition on your side that says, hey, I've already had a pre-listing home inspection. Here's everything we found. Here's some things that we may have elected to fix. But here are the costs associated with the other areas that we know we can get done for a certain amount. This is why it's also really important that you include the agent before you start making repairs to your homes. We've got the contacts. We know what things should cost. If you're working with somebody that's really experienced and is just, really ingrained in working with contractors and that whole, between my investment properties and then all the transactions we do, I can tell you with relative certainty how much almost everything costs to fix in your home. It's just something that you accumulate after 20 years of doing this. And then you have to stay, of course, up to date as markets change and as prices go up and as inflation impacts all of us. But the benefit of a pre-listing home inspection is that you get to control the cost associated with repairs you choose to make or not make and then later negotiate. If you just rely on the buyer's inspector and contractors, you will more than likely get taken advantage of. You will more than likely lose money. So pre-listing home inspections are incredibly important. Finding an agent that can market your home to an internal database that they've developed of like-minded buyers looking at similar properties, that's really, there's a lot more that goes into that, and that's all in the guide. But that's just a sneak peek of some of the things that you can do as a seller to prepare for the process of selling your home before it ever hits the market. Everything that we're talking about so far has not accrued a single days on market because it's not publicly for sale. The whole idea here is to generate as much activity in the property as possible so that when you're ready to go live, you already have a waiting list of buyers. You have people that are ready to make offers and compete to be able to buy that house. That's how you create urgency. That's how you create fear of loss. That's what marketing is all about, right? We want the buyer to think that if they don't do something about your house, someone else will. We need to motivate them to take action, and a really effective agent with a really effective marketing plan can do that for you. And again, all of this contributes to your bottom line, the amount of money you make when you sell your home. Can you take the easy road? Can you work with an agent that's going to maybe charge you just a fraction less commission, but do basically nothing other than put it in the MLS? Yeah, of course. You could also sell a home on your own and not pay any commission. But the question is, if the bottom line is really what's most important to you, because there are ways of doing this that will increase your sales price. It's been time tested and proven. We've done it hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of times. And if you want to get your hand on this guide, I really encourage you guys to take some time and read through it. I've poured my heart and soul into this one. 843-800-0065, 843-800-0065. You can call or text me at that number. But if you want this guide, text the word guide to 843-800-0065, 843-800-0065. That's also my personal line. You can call or text me there. Or check us out online, listingsincharleston.com. That's listingsincharleston.com. I also want to mention really quickly that for those of you that listen and are planning on selling your home, we are giving away free pre-listing home inspections. It's at least a $500 value in addition to everything else that we do. So if you're thinking of selling your home, you've got some things that you're a little concerned about, or maybe some repairs that you'd like to make, please, please, please have a conversation with someone like me before you start spending time and money repairing your home, because it's all about the return on investment, right? What can we do to increase the value of your home by spending less than we make, right? That's what it's all about. And then the last thing I'll say is that, with all these changes that are coming up to the real estate industry, and if you don't know what I'm talking about, I did a show on this. You can find us on YouTube where I talk about changes to the real estate industry based on this lawsuit settlement that took place. But we're offering some incentives with regard to our commission and some of the different plans that we have as well. So if you're thinking of selling your home, we'd love the opportunity to earn your business. Feel free to give me a call, 843-800-0065 or listingsincharleston.com. You guys have a great weekend. Thanks for listening to the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show right here on the Big Talker, 1250 WTMA and WTMA.com.
Join us for another edition of the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show next Saturday morning at 9 and Sunday morning at 10. Find him online at listingsincharleston.com. That's listingsincharleston.com. Or call him at 843-800-0065. That's 843-800-0065.